It was November 1st, 2016, a regular Sunday morning for most people. I was standing on the platform working with the worship team to prepare for another Sunday morning service, but this morning would be different. As my daughter busted through the vestibule doors, I could see the horror on her face. I stood there for a few short moments that drug on for what felt like an eternity as she made her way to me. It was like her and I were in a tunnel, and although the room was filling with people, in that moment we were alone. As she reached me, she collapsed into my arms in a puddle of tears and spoke the words that I will never forget. Sydney was gone. I had spent the 10 years leading up to that morning working with teens their age in our church youth group. I had taken every psychology class and counseling class that the university had offered, yet still I was not prepared to deal with the wave of circumstances I would soon find myself in. As a mother, my nurturing instinct would set in as I found myself desperate to help these young teens work through a grief none had yet experienced. Motivated by their desperation for understanding, I threw myself into finding ways to reach them, finding ways to empower them with the strength and the courage to just say no. Drinking and driving takes more lives, costs more money, and lands more people in legal trouble than anything else. A report by the CDC states that 29 people in the United States die in a motor vehicle accident involving alcohol or other substances every day. Every 2 minutes, someone is injured in a drunk driving crash. Every 51 minutes, someone is killed. Traffic accidents are the leading cause of death among teenagers, and roughly 1/3 of these accidents involve alcohol or another substance, according to DoSomething.org. The Pacific Institute for Research and Evaluation released a report stating that drunk driving costs the United States more than $132 billion each year. Society as a whole is affected by these costs. Because of it, we face higher insurance rates, higher taxes, and medical and property costs. In 2013, 9.9 million people reported that they had drinking and drove under the influence at one point or another. These numbers were highest among 18 to 25-year-olds. Over 1.1 million drivers were arrested in 2014 for driving under the influence. 1/3 of the drivers arrested for drunk driving are repeat offenders. Next time you or someone you love consider getting behind a wheel, I want you to remember Sydney. She was an honor roll student. She had cheered for years with my daughter, had won awards and won people over with her compassionate and outgoing nature. One October night, she left her home for the last time. She left a party with 3 other girls. They climbed into the Jeep and headed down the winding road on that cold, foggy night. They had no idea when they left home that day that they would never make it home. Some argue that we battle this issue with education. We aren't doing enough to educate our teens of the dangers involved, they argue. I've heard it many times. I don't entirely agree with this. Students are educated frequently on the dangers and outcomes of drunk driving, and while statistics have dropped, this is still a major problem among our younger people. This is an area that I feel stiffer penalties need to be implemented. Consequences need to be enforced, and they need to be steep. With the number of repeat offenders being as high as they are, it's hard not to question whether we are doing enough to convince people that this negligent behavior has to stop. It's time to take a stand. As parents, educators, and community leaders, we must come together to fight these numbers. As long as one mother spends that long night that Sydney's mom had to spend trying to figure out why her daughter missed curfew, why she wasn't answering her phone, why she would never walk through her door again, we must fight. As I held my daughter in my arms that morning, I almost felt guilty for thanking God that she wasn't with them that night. I felt guilty feeling such relief to be holding my child when 4 mothers on the other side of town were facing the realization that they would never hold theirs again.